My name is Naomi Fletcher. I'm 28 years old, and until last week, I thought I was going to marry the man I'd loved for 6 years. Now I'm sitting in my older sister's kitchen at 2:04 a.m., staring at the condensation sliding down a can of cheap beer, wondering how the man who once swore he'd protect my heart somehow became the one crushing it. Brittany's kitchen has always felt warm, soft yellow lights, the faint smell of cinnamon, a place where nothing bad should feel real. But tonight the air is sharp and cold, like my grief has soaked into the walls. Brittany leans against the counter, arms crossed. She's watching me the way a surgeon watches a wound. Calm, steady, but ready to intervene if the bleeding gets worse. I'm on my third beer. I don't even like beer. Naomi, Brittany's voice is slow, deliberate. Listen to what you just said. I blink at her. What? You said Evan is mean, but nice. She raises an eyebrow. That doesn't make sense, at all. The words hit me like a slap. Because she's right. Because hearing it out loud makes it sound insane, but it's what I've been telling myself for months. I sink deeper into the kitchen chair, rubbing my temples. It's complicated. No, she says softly but firmly. It's not. The collapse. Evan Mercer, my fiancé, or ex-fiancé now, I guess, kicked me out of our apartment for the second time in 3 weeks. Same apartment I'm still paying half the rent for. Same apartment he refuses to remove me from the lease. Same apartment I'm not allowed to sleep in. It shouldn't hurt this much, but it does. I'm exhausted. Not just from the fights, or the packing, or from dragging my suitcase across the parking lot after midnight. It's the exhaustion that settles in your bones, the kind that feels like it's been growing for months, slowly hollowing you out. I don't know what's happening anymore, I whisper. It's like every day he changes the rules. Who I was before him. My name is Naomi, and I've been working 2 jobs, weekdays in construction support, weekends doing event staffing, trying to save for the wedding Evan and I were supposed to be planning. 6 years together, 1 year engaged, a lifetime planned in my head. But now I'm wondering if I've been building a future with someone who was dismantling me piece by piece. When the shift began, it started small, I tell Brittany. Little things. Evan always had opinions about how things should be done, not preferences, rules. If I did laundry, too frequently, or not frequently enough, or folding the towels the wrong way. If I cooked dinner, too slow, too rushed, too much seasoning, not enough seasoning. He told me to go out with friends, then got upset that I wasn't home. Told me to get off my phone while he scrolled through his own. Told me to go to the gym, then complained I was gone too long. I told myself it was normal. Every couple argues, right? The grief shift. But after Dad died in June, something in Evan hardened. He started going out with his work friends. Late nights, drunk weekends, unexplained Uber receipts. I didn't mind at first. I work late too, and grief hits people differently. But drunk Evan wasn't the man I fell in love with. His words were sharp, cruel, precise, like he knew exactly where my insecurities lived and aimed straight for them. But the worst part? The meanness didn't disappear when he sobered up. The day everything broke. 3 weeks ago, I whisper. He looked me dead in the eyes and told me I wasn't good enough for him. Brittany's jaw tightens. He said he deserved better, that he wanted to start over, and he told me to leave. Her voice is quiet but fierce. Naomi, that's not love. I swallow hard. I know. But it doesn't stop the sting. He listed reasons that made no sense. I didn't get along with his online friends. I'd never met them. I didn't make enough effort with his family. I had dinners with them monthly, gamed with his brother weekly. I was too dependent, even though I was the one working 2 jobs to pay for most of the wedding. His friends all agreed, I murmur. His friends don't know you, Brittany snaps, and he's rewriting reality. The worst kind of confusion. I went back a week later to grab clothes. He kissed me, just kissed me, soft, familiar, like he remembered who we were. Then he talked about our proposal, how romantic it was, how much that night meant to him. For a moment, I thought maybe the nightmare was temporary. Maybe we could fix this. But then something switched again. His eyes went cold. He told me to leave, again. Told me I needed to figure out my own life. And then justified it by saying the apartment was too small for us to be on top of each other right now. But he still refused to let me move back in, replace me with another tenant, or release me from the lease. He wanted my money, not me. The word I can't accept. You could file for domestic abuse protections, Brittany says quietly. You might qualify to break the lease. Something in my stomach twists violently. That feels extreme. Naomi, she says, leaning closer. He's controlling where you live. He's isolating you, He's manipulating your reality. That's not a boyfriend. That's an abuser. The word makes something inside me recoil. Victim abuse. Me? I peel at the beer label until it shreds between my nails. I'm not a victim, I whisper. But even as I say it, I'm not sure I believe it. Because somewhere between grieving my father and trying to hold my relationship together, I lost track of myself, of what's normal, of what's acceptable, of what's love and what's not. Brittany squeezes my hand. Naomi, maybe this breakup was the best thing that could have happened to you. Her voice is gentle. I want to believe her. I want to feel relief. But all I feel is the sting of a future collapsing, and the terrifying realization that maybe I've been making excuses for a man who stopped loving me long before he ever said the words. 8 days after Brittany sat me down in her cinnamon-scented kitchen and told me I needed a game plan, I found myself sitting alone in a cold vinyl chair at the bank, hands trembling around a folder of printed screenshots. Every deposit I made into our wedding fund, every month of double shifts, every holiday bonus, every sacrifice. It all felt like physical evidence of a version of me I wasn't sure existed anymore. The version who believed in Evan, believed in us, believed that love meant giving until it hurt. The banker, a soft-spoken woman with gentle eyes, finished reviewing the documents and nodded. You're entitled to withdraw the portion you can prove is yours, she explained. Do you want to take the full amount? I shook my head. No, just mine. Mine. God, the word felt foreign on my tongue. The total wedding fund was around $8,000. I had contributed roughly $6,000. Evan added about $2,000, mostly from a single tax refund. I withdrew only what was mine, no more, no less. Still, the moment the cash hit my hand, guilt stabbed me like I'd committed a crime. But Brittany's voice replayed in my head. If he kicked you out and keeps you on the lease, he's not entitled to a penny of your savings. I walked out of the bank with the envelope tucked under my jacket, and all hell broke loose. The first calls. The calls started before I even reached my car. Evan, 23 missed calls. Evan, 6 voicemails. Evan, 47 messages. I stared at the screen, the notifications stacking like a countdown to an explosion. The 6th voicemail played automatically. Naomi, what the hell did you do? Why would you take our wedding money? This is financial abuse. You're punishing me for needing space. Space. He'd called kicking me out space. A text followed, popping up so quickly it felt like he was typing with shaking hands. You stole from me. I typed back with numb fingers. I only took the deposits I made. I have proof of every dollar. His response was immediate. You should have left it all there to pay your half of the rent. You're abandoning me, and now you're making me suffer for it. Abandoning him, as if he didn't evict me emotionally weeks ago. My pulse thudded painfully in my throat. I wanted to call him, to explain, to de-escalate, to fix things like I always tried to. But Brittany had warned me, document everything. So I switched from calls to text only, letting every accusation log itself like evidence. When Evan couldn't reach me, he found someone else. That night, at 9:13 p.m., my mother called from her bedroom. Her voice was trembling. Naomi, sweetheart, Evan keeps calling me. Over and over. I don't understand what's happening. A chill ran through me. How many times? Mom sniffled. It's been 9 calls since dinner. 9 calls. To my grieving mother. A woman who lost her husband of 35 years just months ago. I swallowed anger so sharp it hurt. I'll handle it, Mom. Don't answer his calls. She hesitated. Did I do something wrong? Why is he yelling about money? My heart cracked in two. No, Mom, you did nothing wrong. Nothing at all. The night it got worse. 2 days later, the number jumped to 36 calls. 36 times my mother, fragile, exhausted, still healing from losing Dad, had to listen to her phone buzz relentlessly with Evan's name lighting up the screen. It broke something in me. I rushed to my mom's house. I found her curled up on the couch, tear-streaked, whispering, I don't know why he hates me, Naomi. I've always been kind to him. The sight made something in me turn cold, so cold it scared me. That's when Kelsey, my fiery younger sister, stormed out of the hallway with Mom's phone in hand. Enough, she snapped. I'm filing a harassment report. I blinked. Kelsey. No, he wants war? He can have documentation instead. She spent the next hour printing logs, screenshots, timestamps. Then she called Evan's father. Not Evan, his father. Her voice was steel. Your son needs to stop calling our mother. If he contacts her again, there will be legal consequences. His dad actually had the nerve to say, Naomi should give him the money. It's for her anyway. Kelsey laughed, a low, dangerous laugh. She took her own deposits. She can prove it. Do you want me to send you the spreadsheet? Silence. Then backpedaling. A lot of it. The lease? And the word I still hated. Back at Brittany's, I sat at her dining table with my laptop open, filling out something called an N15 form, a domestic abuse-related request to break the lease. My hands shook the whole time. The officer reviewing it sounded skeptical. Financial control and harassment may not qualify. Abuse cases get tricky without physical violence, he said, as if emotional injuries were invisible scars that didn't count. But I filed anyway. Not because I fully accepted the word abuse, not yet, but because I couldn't keep pretending the situation made sense. The moment I finally saw it. Late that night, after I finally turned my phone back on, a message from Brittany waited for me. Don't block him yet. Let him dig his own hole. We need a record of his behavior. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, realizing how deeply Evan had started to infiltrate my life, my mind, my family. And suddenly the guilt I'd been carrying shifted. For the first time, instead of asking myself, what did I do wrong? I found myself whispering, what has he been doing to me? I didn't know it then, but Evan was just getting started. And the next time I saw him, he would cross a line he could never step back from. 3 days after Evan's 36-call frenzy, Kelsey showed up at my temporary bedroom doorway, Brittany's guest room, holding a tote bag and a baseball cap like she was gearing up for battle. Get dressed, she said. We're getting your stuff today. I blinked at her from the bed. Kels, Evan said he's at work all day. Maybe we should wait. No. Her voice was sharp, decisive. He escalated with Mom. I'm not giving him another chance to do that again. We're going. I opened my mouth to argue, but one look at my sister's face, burning with protective fury I'd only ever seen in moments of true crisis, shut me up. I got dressed. Arriving at the apartment parking lot looked the way heartbreak feels. Empty, colorless, echoing with memories that now felt twisted. The moment I stepped out of the car, my chest tightened. This was the place I used to come home to after long shifts, the place where Evan once lifted me off my feet and spun me around, the place where he asked me to marry him. Now all I felt was a weight on my lungs. Kelsey unlocked the door with my spare key. The silence inside was suffocating. We moved quickly. Clothes, shoes, chargers, toiletries, all stuffed into boxes and bags. Kelsey kept glancing over her shoulder like she expected him to walk in at any moment. We need to make this fast, she muttered. I don't trust him. Neither did I. For the first time in months, I admitted that to myself. The missing PS5. 20 minutes in, Kelsey suddenly froze. Naomi, where's your PS5? I looked up from a drawer of jewelry. What? It was right here, she said, pointing to the entertainment center. Right there. Same spot for 2 years. My stomach dropped. The PS5 was gone, along with my noise-canceling headphones, my electric razor set, and the little charging dock Evan always teased me for buying. I haven't been back since I grabbed my clothes that first day, I whispered. Kelsey's eyes narrowed. She stalked down the hallway and shouted loud enough to rattle the frames on the wall. Are you kidding me? The door opens. The sound that followed made every muscle in my body turn to stone. The front door unlocking. Kelsey's mouth hardened into a line. Of course, she hissed. Of course he'd come home early. The door swung open. Evan stepped inside, surprised for a split second. Then his expression twisted into something ugly. Oh, you're here, he said, dripping disdain. I swallowed hard. We told you I was coming to get my stuff. He shrugged, tossing his keys on the counter. Didn't think you'd bring backup. It's not backup, Kelsey snapped. It's safety. His eyes flicked to her, then back to me. So you're running to your family again, huh? The contempt in his voice made my stomach lurch. The tension boils over. We're leaving soon, I said, trying to keep my voice even. Evan scoffed, walking past us with exaggerated indifference. But the second he noticed the empty entertainment shelf, his body went rigid. You looking for something? Kelsey asked. Evan turned, his face blank in that scary, manufactured way. There were things here, she said, her PS5, her electronics. I don't know what you're talking about, he replied, voice too smooth. Kelsey stepped closer, unafraid. It didn't grow legs and walk away, Evan. He shrugged lightly. Maybe Naomi took it already. I didn't, I said quietly. His jaw ticked. Maybe you misplaced it. You threw it out, Kelsey said, didn't you? Evan smiled, a tight, fake smile that didn't reach his eyes. It was the smile he used when he wanted to make me doubt myself. And suddenly something inside me snapped. No more games, I said softly. Where is it? The explosion. Evan's composure cracked. He stormed across the room, grabbed a thick wooden picture frame from a side table, and hurled it directly at my head. I barely had time to duck. It hit the wall behind me with a sickening crack, shattering into splinters. Kelsey was on him in an instant. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she shouted. Evan ignored her entirely, his glare locked on me. "This is my home," he spat. "You don't get to invade it." "Invade?" Kelsey barked. "She lived here." Then it happened so fast I barely processed it. Evan stepped forward, arms swinging, and slapped Kelsey across the face. The sound echoed through the apartment like a gunshot. For a second, Kelsey didn't move. Then her eyes iced over. And I remembered, too late, that she played rugby for 4 years in college. "Kels," I started, but she was already moving. I won't describe what followed in detail, not because it was violent, but because it was clean, controlled, and over in 3 seconds. Suffice it to say, Evan learned that my sister was absolutely not someone to put hands on. A neighbor must have heard the commotion because, bang, 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 "Police, open the door!" The police finally care. The officers stepped inside and took everything in at once. The shattered frame on the floor, the redness blooming across Kelsey's cheek, the damage on the wall behind me, the fact that Evan was suddenly oh so quiet now that consequences had arrived. Kelsey told them what happened in a steady, controlled voice. The officers photographed the wall, the broken frame, her cheek, the scene. And suddenly, after weeks of being dismissed, doubted, ignored, the police were very interested in our civil matter. Evan's hands shook as he pointed toward the door. "They're harassing me." But one of the officers cut him off sharply. "Sir, we need you to calm down." For once, Evan shut up. The dumpster revelation. Under pressure from the officers, Evan finally remembered where my missing items were. In the dumpster behind the building, thrown in with bags of trash. Kelsey and I followed the officers around the side of the building where they retrieved my PS5, dented, scratched, the casing cracked. My headphones, gone. My razor set, gone. I stared at the damaged PS5 in my hands and felt a cold wave wash over me. Not sadness, not fear. Clarity. He wasn't losing control. He'd been in control for months, and I'd just refused to see it. The lease is broken. 2 hours later, after the reports were filed and statements taken, the landlord arrived on site. He looked at the police cars, Kelsey's cheek, the shattered frame in a bag, and the dumpster still half open behind us. His voice was tight and decisive. "I want her off the lease, immediately." For the first time in weeks, I felt something like oxygen in my lungs. I was free. The final twist. 2 days later, as I settled temporarily into Brittany's guest room, my phone rang. The caller ID made my stomach twist. "Evan's mother," I answered cautiously. "Hello?" She didn't waste a second. "I think you should drop the charges," she said. "This will follow Evan forever. He made a mistake, but he's not a bad person." I nearly laughed. A broken, shocked, bitter laugh. But instead I said calmly, "Ma'am, Evan dumped me. He told me I wasn't good enough. He kicked me out twice. He harassed my grieving mother with dozens of calls at night. He threw a heavy object at my head. He assaulted my sister. And he lied to you about everything." Silence stretched. Finally, I added, "Maybe ask your son why his story doesn't match mine." She hung up. The next morning, my mom received a bouquet of lilies with a handwritten card. "I'm sorry," signed by Evan's mother. Even his family had begun to see the truth. But the damage was already done. And what came next would change everything for all of us. For the first time in months, my life felt still. Not peaceful, not yet, but still. Like the air after a storm, when trees are bent, branches broken, debris everywhere, but the thunder has finally stopped. Kelsey sat beside me on Brittany's couch, a bag of frozen peas pressed against her cheek. The swelling had gone down, but the red mark where Evan slapped her still burned angrily across her skin. "You okay?" I asked softly. She shrugged. "I've had worse on the rugby field." But her jaw was tight, her eyes dark. This wasn't about pain. This was about betrayal, about watching someone she once tolerated, even liked, turn into someone dangerous. I looked away, guilt settling heavy in my chest. "Kels, I'm so sorry you got dragged into this." She snapped her head toward me, disbelief etched across her face. "Dragged into this? Naomi, I walked into this. On purpose. You're my sister." Her voice softened. "And he hurt Mom. That was never going to go unanswered." I swallowed hard, emotion tightening my throat. I didn't know how much I needed to hear that until right then. The paper trail that saved us. The next week was a blur of paperwork. Police reports, statements, copies of screenshots, call logs, building incident reports, grief counseling sessions, visits to the landlord, calls with legal aid, and endless documentation. Brittany handled most of the logistics. She was terrifyingly good at it. Kelsey handled the confrontation. She was born for it. And Mom handled trying to hold herself together. Every time she saw a police officer in the house, her eyes flickered with something painful. A memory, a shadow, a fear. I hated Evan for what he did to her, more than what he did to me. Mom gets her own protection. The restraining orders were approved faster than expected. Mom received hers first. When the officer handed it to her and explained that Evan was legally prohibited from contacting her, Mom broke down crying, not out of fear, but relief. I didn't do anything wrong, she whispered into my shoulder. No, Mama, I said, holding her tightly. You didn't. Kelsey got hers next. Then I received mine. For the first time, the system recognized what Evan had done. The consequences catch up to him. Then came the fallout. 1. The landlord refused to renew Evan's lease. Neighbors had complained about violent disputes, screaming, and unsafe behavior. In a building with retired couples and families, he was a liability they didn't want. 2. Evan's family confronted him. After my conversation with his mother, and after my mom received the apology flowers, something shifted. Evan's brother, who I'd actually gotten along with for years, sent me a message. I'm sorry, Mom told us what happened. Evan's version doesn't match any timeline or evidence. We're trying to get him help. It was the first time I'd felt like someone on Evan's side could see me, really see me. But the relief was threaded with heartbreak. I'd wanted a life with Evan, not this. Not court filings, restraining orders, destroyed property, and lies unraveling under pressure. The therapy sessions that changed everything. Mom, Kelsey, and I began grief counseling together. The therapist, a woman named Lena with kind eyes and a voice like warm tea, listened as Mom talked about Dad. Listened as Kelsey recounted the 36 calls. Listened as I described Evan's cruelty disguised as stress, grief, or space. Lena said something I didn't expect. Naomi, you were grieving your father. Evan was opportunistic. He used your vulnerability as leverage, not love. The words hit me like cold water. Opportunistic, a word I had never dared to say out loud. I felt the floor inside me shift, the final piece of denial cracking. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't bad timing. This wasn't grief. It was control. Slow rebuilding. I found a small apartment near my job, sunlit windows, creaky wooden floors. Nothing fancy. But it was mine. The first night I slept there, I realized it was the first time in months I wasn't afraid of a door opening unexpectedly, wasn't waiting for shouting, wasn't holding my breath. I breathed deeply, fully, without permission. Evan's silence. After the restraining orders were issued, Evan went quiet. No calls, no texts, no harassment. It should have felt good. But silence from an unstable person isn't comforting. It's ominous. Like the breath before another storm. But days passed, then weeks. And the storm never came. Word through his brother was that Evan had been forced to move onto a friend's couch and was finally being confronted by his own family. For once, it wasn't my problem to fix. A flicker of something new. One late afternoon, after unpacking in my new place, I found myself smiling. Not because anything extraordinary happened, but because nothing bad had. Sunset filtered through my curtains, casting soft peach light over my half-unpacked boxes. For the first time, the world felt survivable. My phone buzzed. A new message, from a guy I'd met at a friend's gathering 2 weeks earlier. Nothing serious, just friendly conversation. I didn't respond right away. Not because I was scared, but because I was finally learning the difference between loneliness and peace. The quiet realization. It hit me one night as I sat on my sofa, wrapped in a blanket, sipping tea. Dad once asked me, months before he passed, "Are you truly happy with him, Naomi? Not comfortable, happy." I had brushed him off. Told him Evan was good for me, that we had a future. But maybe Dad saw what I couldn't. Maybe he saw me shrinking. Maybe he saw Evan's shadow creeping over my life long before I did. Maybe he protected me one last time. A calm before the final chapter. As I set my tea down and pulled the blanket tighter around me, I realized something. Evan might have broken pieces of my life, but he didn't break me. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I allowed myself to look forward. Not with fear, but with the fragile, tentative beginnings of hope. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew this. I'd never let someone dim my light again, even if they claimed to love me, especially then. And the final chapter of this story was still waiting to be written. 2 months. That's how long it's been since the day everything finally broke open. Since the shattered frame, the slap, the restraining orders, the dumpster, the police reports. 2 months of unraveling, rebuilding, relearning how to breathe without flinching. 2 months since I stopped being afraid of what Evan might do next. And in that time, something strange happened. I started feeling like myself again. Not instantly, not perfectly, but steadily, like sunlight slowly returning to a house that's been shuttered for too long. We are not dropping the charges. I'll start with what everyone keeps asking. No, we're not dropping any of the charges. Not the physical assault, not the harassment, not the destruction of property, not the repeated attempts to intimidate my family. Evan made choices, and now he faces consequences. There's no world where I protect the man who terrorized my grieving mother for weeks. Mom lost her husband of 35 years in June. She's dealing with health problems and learning how to wake up in a house that feels too big, too empty, too quiet. And Evan targeted her, weaponized her love for him, used her vulnerability to punish me. No apology bouquet could erase that. Why we didn't block him immediately. A lot of people asked why we didn't block Evan's number as soon as he started spiraling. The answer is simple and painful. We needed the evidence. If we had blocked him the first night, everything Evan did, every call, every voicemail, every manipulation, would have become his word against ours. Instead, we built a timeline, a paper trail, an undeniable record. Screenshots, call logs, voicemails, police filings, witness statements. And ultimately, that's what made the restraining orders stick. That's why the system finally took us seriously. The police finally heard us. I learned something important during this process. When a man reports domestic violence, people hesitate. The first officer I spoke to back in the very beginning actually asked, "Did you do anything to set her off?" Like abuse needed justification, like violence had context. But when Evan hit Kelsey, another woman, everything changed. It was infuriating to realize how differently the system treats victims depending on gender, but it was the moment that finally flipped the switch for law enforcement. If Kelsey hadn't been there that day, I don't know where I'd be right now. Protecting my future. Someone online suggested I freeze my credit. I didn't think Evan would open accounts in my name, but then again, I also didn't think he'd throw a PS5 into a dumpster behind our building. So yes, my credit is frozen. Every bank alert is turned on. Every password changed. Never again will I share access with someone who treats control like affection. Life after the lease. The apartment situation worked out better for me than I expected. The landlord not only removed me from the lease, he also refused to renew Evan's. Other tenants complained about feeling unsafe. Some reported hearing Evan yelling late at night for weeks. One elderly neighbor said she thought something terrible was happening. Evan tried to argue with management, but public records speak louder than temper tantrums. He had to move out. Now he's sleeping on someone's couch, and I no longer have to pay for a home that became a battlefield. Evan's family saw the truth. His family eventually got the full picture, not because of me, but because Evan's lies finally contradicted themselves. His brother sent me a message. "I'm so sorry. Mom pressured us to believe him, but once we asked the right questions, nothing lined up." They didn't make excuses. They didn't defend him. They acknowledged the truth. And as strange as it sounds, that meant more to me than I expected. His mother even sent a second bouquet to my mom, a longer apology note this time. Not for Evan, but for her own part in believing him too quickly. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. My new home, my new quiet. I moved into a small apartment with warm light and creaky wooden floors, imperfections that feel like personality instead of stress. No shouting, no tense silence, no measuring every word. Just peace. I bought secondhand furniture, hung up old photographs, set up my little gaming corner. The PS5 works, even with its cracked casing and scratches. It looks battered. Survived something brutal. Kind of like me. I didn't replace it. I kept it as is. A reminder of what I endured and what I'll never accept again. Healing, slowly and together. Mom, Kelsey, and I continue going to grief counseling. Losing Dad left a wound in our family that hasn't closed, but we're finally learning how to care for it instead of pretending it doesn't hurt. The counselor told me something that stuck. Safety is the foundation of healing. Everything else comes after. I didn't realize how unsafe I'd felt in my own home until I left it. Now every quiet morning, every safe night, every deep breath feels like a gift. Someone new, but just a little. Yes, I started dating lightly. Nothing serious, nothing heavy. Just gentle conversation, warm laughter, remembering what it feels like when someone looks at you without trying to control you. It's strange how peaceful a healthy interaction feels when you've lived inside chaos for so long. I'm not rushing. I'm not searching. I'm simply living. For myself this time. Dad's final protection. One comment online said, "I'm glad this happened before the wedding. Maybe your dad was protecting you one last time. I believe that. I remember Dad asking me once, "Are you truly happy, Naomi?" Not comfortable, not used to him, happy. At the time, I brushed him off. But now I think he saw the truth before I was strong enough to face it. Dad always had a way of noticing the cracks in things long before they broke. Maybe this was his final gift, to push me out of something that would have destroyed me. A new ending and a new beginning. Today, I'm working steadily, healing slowly, breathing freely, living gently. Evan is facing consequences. His actions have real weight now. And me? I'm building a life that is finally my own. A life where love isn't a battlefield, where family stands with me, not against me, where my worth isn't determined by someone else's instability. Sometimes the trash really does take itself out, and sometimes you walk out of the fire stronger than you ever imagined.